and welcome to That's My Opinion! My name is BaconBearzz, and that's my opinion. Thank you guys for the first episode. We received a lot of really good reviews, and you guys were really receptive, and I had a lot of fun. With that being said, I think I am going to keep it to every Thursday for doing this podcast because that seemed to work out really well. And also just remember that you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, and actually Apple Podcasts was where it was played the most. I was really surprised. But you can find it on all three of those places. With that being said, we actually have our first victim today. So it's not just going to be me, which is very, very fun. So I'd like to introduce you to a good friend of mine. What are you going by? Are we using your real name?
I don't know. We started that conversation and then didn't finish it.
We did. We talked about it.
We're
We're
use
like,
my name. That's fine.
Oh, I'm not even in. So, and also, if you guys are on YouTube, you can see that I made this like cool little screen. So it's something fun for you to look at. That's not like just my face.
It's my face too.
It's also your face, but I got some little dancing headphones, dancing microphones. So, I've known you for about. Well, first of all, what name are you going by?
I'll go by Lydia.
Okay,
That's fine.
Lydia Dietz. Yeah. So, Lydia, I've known you for a year
and a half.
Okay.
I moved in June.
And then we all started kind of hanging out as neighbors as a group and, made fast friends. So you were the first one who decided that you would come on the podcast. Thank you. I'm so excited.
I was coerced into this.
It's so funny because you continue to surprise me. I think I told you that the other day. But you're like, why is that surprising? I'm like, it's your dark sense of humor.
It was my dark sense of humor.
Yeah. I don't.
This doesn't look nice on the outside. What did you think? I was going to have a good sunny disposition?
It doesn't look funny or depressed, but it's all of those things actually. So
you fit a lot into this little frame.
Yeah, which
5 feet tall, and we can pack a lot in.
That's all right. Depression comes in all sizes.
Sure does.
And then also when I was like, do you want to be on the podcast? Because usually people are like, no, because it's not their thing. You're like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, until I woke up this morning in a cold sweat, like, oh shit, did I agree to that?
You're like,
oh,
why would I do this?
Made a mistake.
And actually, the reason that I wanted to have you on the podcast is because I do find you incredibly funny. And we do have a lot of conversations about all the way from family stuff to reincarnation theories.
We got a pretty broad range that we've covered between the two of us.
So I thought it would be interesting and fun. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh God.
Tell everybody. You're
Let's see. I'm a tax accountant by day, sad bitch by night. I do art in my spare time occasionally. Do
you put on a cape when you're crying in your sad bitch time? You're like, sad bitch.
I've never done that. What are you saying?
You are actually too. I'll send people over to your Instagram. You are an actually incredible artist. You do a lot of realism. Stuff that I can't do.
I'm gonna have to open up that Instagram. It's private.
Or don't go.
I want y'all to see that.
Oh, yeah. Or don't go to her Instagram.
I gotta actually post stuff somewhere that's like.
Yeah. Well, open. And you're starting to branch out on TikTok, which is
me and my 4 videos.
That's fine. Everybody's got to start somewhere.
With like 5 likes.
Soon enough, you'll have an OnlyFans squishing your feet into mashed potatoes.
You know what? Whatever pays the bills. It's better than what I do now.
And one of my favorite sayings, I've done a lot more for a lot less. So I should probably just put it on to OnlyFans. How long have you been married?
5 months.
5 months.
Right? October.
Yeah.
November, December, January, February, March. 5 months.
Okay.
5 months.
But you've been together
10 years this April.
Yeah, so your marriage doesn't count.
So it does not.
Nobody gives a shit.
It was really a formality at this point. Yeah. Honestly, we put it off that long because we were both like, I don't know if I can get married. That sounds horrible.
Why?
Oh, because it sounds like so much work. And it was a lot of work. It was awful.
So the wedding part of it.
Yeah.
Because, technically you're already married. If you're together for 10 years, you're like already married.
And that was the argument. We're like, at this point, it's just a big fancy ceremony. Like, who cares?
Yeah, it's just it's a party to celebrate your love.
It was fun. I'm very glad we did it. But man, the planning was as bad as expected.
Wedding planning is ass.
Honestly, glad we put it off as long as we did. That sucked. It was fun. I'm glad we
try to roll a fucking chair on carpet. Christ. I do have to say, so my husband was very much the bride of our wedding. I was like, let's elope. And then we didn't because my mom doesn't fly. So I was like, all right, well, we could have a small wedding here. And he's like, but his family, his dad is one of 8.
Oh, God.
Who are all married. And I think his first grandchildren, there's 16 of them.
Oh.
Then they all have significant others.
Yeah.
Then if they had kids. So the one thing that we decided at our wedding was like, because it was just going to be too big, was if you weren't engaged, you could not bring a +1.
That's
because
fair.
I mean, the older people, like if it was his aunt, we're like, we understand that you know what a wedding is. You know that you're going to pay for your plate. Yeah. You're not going to pick up some reptile from the bar down the street last night.
Bring them along.
Right. And I'm like, listen, I just don't want to introduce myself to anybody at my own wedding.
God, no.
Like, I want people who are here who celebrate my love. Also, children, barf. The only kids that were at my wedding were my siblings and then and my youngest sister, who was the flower girl in our wedding. But like, 2 places I don't think children belong is like weddings and funerals. They don't
That's
understand.
Fair. No, that's true. They don't.
Yeah.
I will say there were three kids at our wedding. They were all about 10, I think. Honestly, was great. You probably didn't. You actually know you did see them. They were running around with Polaroid cameras.
I did not see them.
They took pictures of you.
So they saw me, but I did not see them.
And honestly, that was great because I was like, I didn't want to have to deal with that.
So you're gonna have
to. They took some really cute pictures.
Somebody's gonna have to send me the picture. I will post it on my Instagram. Lydia's photographer took a picture of us doing shout, and it is just straight my ass. If I didn't have pants on, that would have been a birthing shot.
It's
like
just right there.
And I mean, that's more ass I've ever seen on myself in my whole entire life.
My favorite part, though, right? Because, like, she got to take so many pictures in a night. And somehow she was going through, saw that one and was like, yep, that's staying.
Keeping it.
That's staying.
Keeping it.
And you know what? God bless her.
You know what? And you had a great photographer, too, because one of the things about great photographers is you don't even know they're there. Yeah. And we didn't. I mean, you would see her and try to get out of her way,
like,
but she wasn't, like, overbearing.
No, she was great. We loved her.
Yeah, and she did a great job. Your wedding pictures are beautiful.
Yeah, I was very, very happy with those.
I did not see the children. I wasn't even drunk at your wedding. I actually had a migraine, and you guys served beer, which makes my migraines worse. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm not going to drink. But somehow I missed the children. One of the things that I was obsessed with recently, and I'm just obsessed with in general because it's something that blows my mind. Also, I think it would be fascinating to be a detective and to, why are you laughing?
You're like, I can't do basic math, but I should be a detective.
Do they do math? They figure out puzzles. I'm great at puzzles. Great at them.
Okay. You should be a detective.
I should be whatever I want to be, and you're my friend, and you should support me in all my dreams.
This is you and your I could be a prodigy at anything. I just haven't tried it yet.
Yeah. Maybe I'm the greatest detective. Maybe I'm fucking Sherlock Holmes.
Just got it all. You know what?
In a crop sweatshirt and sweatpants.
You know what? Your ability to remember pointless conversations, you actually probably would be a good detective.
Yeah. You don't know. Maybe I could see something in a blood splatter pattern on the wall.
Fucking like Rorschach. It's a blotch. You're like,
yeah.
The killer is this because you can see this in the blood.
I can see all of it. I think it would be fascinating to be a detective. I could never do it. I could never walk into a crime scene.
That would be hard.
I don't know how they could do that. I think I would easily be like, I want to be whatever that girl is on Criminal Minds that like sits back and does the computer. And she could like figure it out, but from her desk.
Okay, but you also can't work Excel. So we're going to need to work on some basic skills before we get to Master Detective.
All right, I can't look at crime scene photos. I can't be in a crime scene. I can't work basic Microsoft products. I'm gonna figure this one out.
See, you thought it was hard to be your friend. No, it's hard to be my friend. Yeah. I just tear your dreams apart.
Nobody hates me more than me. You ain't getting through this.
I mean, same. So. I always used to think I was obsessed with the X-Files growing up. So I was like, I could absolutely be in the FBI.
I feel like that horrifies me more than dead bodies.
Oof, no, I was like, I'm gonna do this. I was like pretty dead set on it for a
Were you
long
Mulder
time.
or Scully?
Scully.
Okay.
As an adult, I'm more Mulder.
Okay.
But at the time, I was Scully. I was like, I'm gonna do all that forensic shit. I was like pretty serious about it. I don't know when that dream died, but it sure did. But the older I've gotten, the more I'm like, no, that would bother me. Like, I actually couldn't do it, and I'm glad I didn't even try.
The FBI, like, yeah, I don't know if I could do, and they obviously X-Files, they were extraterrestrial. I don't know if my brain, I like to think that I'm smart and that I have an open mind, but I feel like if I legitimately saw something that should not be seen by humans, my brain would explode and I would just die on the spot.
Oh yeah, no, I was super into the paranormal as a kid. I was like, I love this. Again, as an adult, nope. If I saw one scary thing in my house, my mind would explode.
Have you ever had any like hauntings?
Yes. Nothing like super crazy.
I don't care.
My husband's had crazier things. I've told you this.
Tell me again into a microphone.
There was one time when I was a kid, I was like, my parents were out. I think my brother was out too, and I had a babysitter. It was just me and her. And my cat like got into my parents' room, which she wasn't supposed to be in. I don't know why we did this, but so we like closed the door. We like went into the room. We closed the door to the room, and we're like trying to get her out from under the bed because that's where she'd like always go run to. So we're like trying to get her out from under there. Right, nobody else is in the house. Like parents are gone, my brother's gone, nobody else. And we like hear footsteps coming down the hall, like really quiet. So we're like, we didn't really pay that much attention to it. And then suddenly there's like a shadow under the door. And now we're like, okay, the hell is this? And we hear a knock on the door to my parents' bedroom. And we're like, okay, what the hell is this?
How old are you at this time?
Young enough to need a babysitter. And
Okay.
my brother was alive, so he's...
So 18?
Yeah. Yes.
So
my babysitter's 13.
So 25?
They really don't trust me to
Right.
be alone in the house. Like, she's gonna get up to no good. No, so I was probably, I don't know what the hell ages do you need a babysitter. Like, I was probably like 8.
Okay.
That seems like reasonable.
Yeah.
Again, old enough to remember it. Like, my brother's 4 years younger than me, so like that seems about right. And the shadow went away from under the door, but we never heard anything walk away. And so eventually, after sitting there for probably like, it feels like it was forever. It was probably like 2 minutes. The babysitter goes, she opens the door. There's nobody there. So we go out, right? We like check, make sure all the doors of the house are locked. They are. And that was it. Like it.
Where was the cat?
She was under the bed.
But
in the room.
It couldn't have been the cat.
No, it wasn't. No, she was in the room with us.
Oh.
No, she was in the room with us. Yeah. So.
Ew.
That was like the weirdest thing. We also had. This one's not that scary, but it was kind of funny. I had like a friend over once, and we like wanted to have like a Sprite from the basement. So we like pulled it out, and then we're like, oh, we should go ask my mom first. Right. So we like set it on the floor in the basement, went upstairs, asked if we could have it. She's like, yeah, sure, fine. We go back downstairs. It's gone. And we never found it. That one's like, I call it the Sprite stealer. I actually.
The one time your mom lets you have pop.
Right.
You're like,
Nope.
God damn it.
You know what? That one was looking out for our health.
That's true.
So that's a good one.
That's true.
No, I like actually just recently came up. I want to do like a little series of drawings for all of the weird little things like that I've had in places that I lived or that like other people have had, right? Like my husband's had like way weirder stuff in his parents' house growing up. But like I want to do like little illustrations with like what I imagine they looked like. Because like I've had other things, right? Like other like apartments that I lived in where there were like you'd hear footsteps at night or like weird things would go missing.
Yeah.
Or my current house where boxes fall over in the garage in the middle of the night, apparently.
Ew.
That was like last week. Our house is fine.
Note to self. Have you ever used a Ouija board?
Yes, but it was nothing happened. It was really underwhelming. And it was like at a hotel. Like my friend and I were in high school. We were on this is what we did for spring break. We like went down to Missouri. Look, I was a loser, first of all.
You're like, what is the saddest place that this sad bitch could go on a sad spring break? Missouri!
St. Louis. But whatever. We went down there. We bought an Ouija board and we used it in the hotel. It did not work. It was a really underwhelming experience.
I won't use them.
Now I wouldn't.
I won't use them.
I actually wouldn't do it.
I won't have them in my house. It took me a while to get on board with like tarot cards. I was scared to like have them in my house and like.
I'll be real. They actually do spook me a little.
Yeah.
I like them. I have some, but I don't really use them. They do kind of spook me a little.
Yeah. I just make sure that like before I use them, you're supposed to like just make sure you know where your head's at.
Yeah.
Because there have been times where I've used them just like frivolously, like just like, pulling them without doing like an intro to what you're going to do first. And yeah, then weird shit. The doors start cracking.
Yeah. That's why I can't do, this is always a mess.
Yeah.
We don't get in a good space here. So no.
Yeah. You got to keep it kind of clear. You and I talk a lot about reincarnation and death in general, and not so much death, but like what happens in the afterlife, you know. What do you think happens? So you die, right? You're dead.
Yeah.
What happens now?
There's a difference between what I think and what I want.
Explain both.
Because I'd probably given you this backstory. I was raised in a super atheist home.
Okay.
So like,
which is funny because I was raised super Catholic.
Yeah, and that was like very much like, I remember I like actually had this big like existential crisis when I was in 8th grade. And I was like, oh my God, what happens when you die? Like, is it nothing? And my mom was like, yeah, sucks, doesn't it? Like, that was...
Oh.
I know I'm definitely not sending my mom the link to this.
Like, Jesus.
So that's always the fear that I've never been able to shake.
Do you want me to edit that out?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Sorry, Lydia's mom. That's cold-blooded, though.
It's true.
What happens when you die? Nothing, bitch.
You know what? They tell it straight. At
You're
least as far as
4. You're like, okay.
What happened to my pet? Dead.
Dead.
Sucks.
Lights out.
But so that's always like that's very much what I was raised with. That's what I've never been able to shake. And that has scared the shit out of me for pretty much my whole life.
You know what's kind of cool about that, though? Is like if there is something, it's like a surprise party.
Honestly,
surprise!
Most pleasant. And I'm also the kind of person, I always assume the worst is going to happen of anything. Like, that's true in my real life. That's true, whatever, everywhere. So, like, that I think is why no matter what else I'm exposed to, I'm like, well, that's the worst case scenario. So that's probably true.
Yeah.
Which, in fairness, eternal hell would actually probably be worse. But...
I don't know. I feel like your brain's so busy. Eternal hell might be right now.
Right, I'm like, I'm living in it.
Yeah.
It couldn't get worse than this.
Which is such a fucked up sentiment because you have a really good life.
Literally?
You're like, oh my God, first world problems.
Objectively, have a great life. And it's like, girl, how can you take that and turn it into sheer misery?
Right. You're like,
I'm magical.
I can do anything.
I can do anything I want.
Yeah, I have to assume, and I was raised super Catholic, and right, there was heaven and hell. There were two different things. I don't know. I sent you a post about Hades and the underworld and the fact that there are different levels to the afterlife, not just hell.
Yeah.
There's like the ultimate heaven, and then there's like a mediocre heaven, and then there's limbo, and then there's... I would like to assume it's more simple than that, right? Like it's a heaven and a hell. Mm-hmm. I have a problem with being Catholic, especially when it comes to the afterlife, because you get a lot of people who do really heinous things who then become born-again Christians, and they're like, but I repented. No.
Right, and now it's okay. We can just forgive all of that stuff like it never happened.
Right.
And according to that logic too, right, if you are just like a person who doesn't believe...
You're also going to hell.
You're going to hell.
With people who did really bad
horrible
shit.
things. And it's like that, agreed.
I've had this conversation with my grandmother, because my grandmother, so I am very spiritual, and I don't believe in the Catholic version of whatever we're supposed to believe in. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother, still watches like some of these preachers like Joyce Myers and things
yeah.
like that, which I also have a problem with, people capitalizing off of the word of Jesus. The man wore a sack and Birkenstocks and he washed people's feet. Like, he wasn't flying a private jet.
No, any of these
with gold
like,
chains,
mega church, like
right.
for-profit preachers. It's like, no, this is
right.
not.
Well,
like,
God wanted me to have this jet. It's like, no.
I don't think he did.
I don't think if he wanted you to fly, it made you a fucking bird. But anyways, so I have a problem with that. But you know, she loves her Joyce, and you know, we talk about a lot of different things. And one of the things is my husband is atheist, and my grandmother and my aunt are very concerned about what happens to him after we die. And I have to assume that if our God is omniscient, right, and he's all-knowing, he has to know the intent that's in my husband's heart. And he has to know the piece of shit that's sitting in the front pew every Sunday, the intent in their heart as well.
Right. Yeah.
I know a lot of people who go to church every Sunday and are real assholes.
Yeah. Like, actually bad people.
Right.
Like.
So I would like to think it's much simpler. Like, listen, you go to heaven or you go to hell. And I'd like to think that, you know, we could come back and visit if we wanted to.
I like that idea.
Or see. I do believe in a sense that if you don't, I think everything's a lesson. I do believe that. I think that we're here to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that we're here to teach. And I think that, and I've always had a sense of purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the purpose is. It would be much
working on that, but
much more helpful if you told me, because I what I was supposed to do. Or at least point me in the right fucking direction. I feel lost a lot of times, but I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be here doing something.
Fair enough.
But what is it? So I believe that, like, if you don't get the lessons right, you continue to come back and
I like that. Yeah.
do it again.
Right. Kind of keep doing it until you get the point. And each life would be like, obviously a different version, but you trying to complete that same lesson.
Right. That same lesson, that same whatever.
Yeah,
that
damn,
same
what
cycle.
is my lesson then? Don't be such a piece of shit this time. Failed that one.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's hard because you're just living, right? And you're just kind of in this rat race of whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's going to work or having children or in your marriage or whatever. And a lot of times you're just spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Well, and I feel like a lot of times too, right? You can feel like something is like, this is what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing, but you don't necessarily always get that. Like, that doesn't necessarily always come easy. Which,
right.
like, that also, like, for me, at least personally, has left me like, what the fuck am I doing then?
Right.
Right? Like,
right.
Thought I knew.
Right. This was supposed to be
my... just a setback, right? Like,
right.
But you just, I mean, you don't know that because you're living everything in the moment. You can't see the future.
I think it would be very different if we were all born and then had like a little post-it note attached to us. It's like, this is your purpose. Do this. Right.
Just go in that direction. Like.
Yeah, but then I guess that takes away the free will, right? That God gives you. Like.
And then what does it mean if you like, I mean, I guess then you would just do it again, right? Like, but if you like intentionally then didn't do that, would it be different if you knew what you were supposed to do and then didn't do it?
Yeah.
Like,
if you're just like an angsty teenager your whole life and you're like, I'm not fucking doing this shit.
You never grow out of this phase. Like, yeah, God is your dad. And he's like, just take out the fucking garbage. And you're like, no.
Yeah, no.
It's like, it's that simple.
I don't want to end world hunger. God.
Just want to play video games. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard. It's difficult because you never really know.
No.
And then what's the lesson? I find myself, I pray out loud a lot, especially when I'm in my most desperate moments. And I'm like, listen. And I don't ask God for much. I do pray every night when I go to sleep. And all I pray for is, I always thank you.
Yeah.
I live a beautiful life, far more, I don't even know what the word is, but far more rich than I could have ever imagined for me, statistically speaking, you know, too. Yeah. And with the parents that I had and the way that I was raised and the path that I was on, in my 20s, this is never where I thought that I would end up. And I'm very grateful. So a lot of times when I go to bed, I thank God for the things that I have and all these things. I ask for protection for us and for my children and just to keep us happy, healthy, and safe. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, I get to these moments where I'm like, you made me pretty. You did not make me smart. I'm going to need something. And you know what's funny is I hear, you ever hear a voice in your head that's not yours?
Very rarely, but yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So there have been times where I have asked for help and something has happened. And in that moment, and it's not a distinct voice. It's not a man's voice or a woman's voice.
Right. It's literally like, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is a thing that pops in your head, an idea that you didn't, almost like an intrusive thought, right?
Yes. Except a nice one.
Except a good one. And there have been moments where I have asked, he has answered in a physical form, and all I've heard is just patience.
Yeah.
Which is something I fucking struggle with. Like,
we know that.
You did this.
You made this and you're telling me to be patient now?
Maybe that's a lesson.
Yeah.
Trust, you know.
That is
that is a lesson. Just
lesson.
Trust in God and like be patient, I guess.
But no,
it's hard.
I think that's interesting because I've told you this before. I don't know if I believe in God or not. I want to, is I think kind of what it comes down to. So I very, very rarely pray.
Okay.
It is really only like when I'm at like very pivotal moments.
Does it have to be a God though? Like, is it like the sense of like, because when I say God, right, mine is like a being or the universe or the whatever.
You're not meaning like some like bearded old man like,
right.
sitting up. Yeah, no, but even just like generally speaking, like,
which is funny because I also do believe Jesus was the Son of God. But is that because I was indoctrinated, or is that because that's what I really believe?
Who's to say?
Hey, never know.
But yeah, no, not necessarily like it. I struggle with the concept generally, regardless of like what I'm envisioning it as. But like, so I'll only pray like in very, very pivotal moments. And I always try when I do to not even ask specifically for the thing that I want. I more am like asking that whatever happens, it be correct. Like, right, that like it be like the appropriate time, or it be like, you know, if this thing that I really want now is not going to happen now, like, let it be because it's just not time right now. Right. Like, I don't know, because I've found when like asking for specific things feels weirdly wrong. Like I feel like that's, I've heard this for
you got $20
treating God like a vending machine.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like,
I think there's a lot of people who do that though.
No, and I think there are, and I'm like, I don't like that.
I have to tell you,
like,
in my 20s, I negotiated with God a lot. If you give me this, I will do this. Like he gives a fuck.
I do fall into that thinking pattern sometimes, again, which is weird as somebody like, and my husband is always like, I don't understand how you can put so much stock in something you're not really even sure if you believe in.
Does your husband believe in God?
No. Well, he's agnostic.
Okay.
He's very much on the like, I don't know, and I don't really think about it that often kind of train.
Sure.
I don't know, and I think about it constantly.
Okay.
Like, it is something I think a lot about.
Okay.
Like, but, so, I don't know. I always kind of try to keep those like, and then I guess when something doesn't go right, it tries to give me some hope that it's like, this just wasn't the time.
Right.
Right? Something not working is not like a hard no. It is like, just, it wasn't now.
Faith in
like,
something knows better about your life than you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those like,
I think sometimes you got to have that though, especially in your hardest moments.
Right. When shitty things happen, it's like, you kind of have to believe that, because otherwise it's like, how am I going to make it through this?
Right.
Like, you kind of just have to be like, this just must not have been the moment.
Yeah.
Like, and that's gotta be fine.
You know,
like,
it's funny that you say that. My grandmother lost 2 children, both at a very young age. And now having 2 children of my own, I've asked her, like, how did you do this? Because I could never imagine. And my children are actually about the same ages apart. So I could just only imagine, you know, standing in her shoes. And it was the same thing. She goes, I just have to assume that there was a plan.
Right, that this just had to be the way that it had to go.
Right.
Like, for whatever, maybe that's part of the lesson. I don't know. Like, even though you're like, how could that be? Like, how could that be my lesson?
Right.
Right. When some other people have like, be nice. Right.
Right.
Like, it feels unfair, but it's like, I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a wild thing. And then also there's the theory that wow, was it 10 or 15? But there's a specific number that you have of soul relationships.
Yeah.
So like in another life before this, you could have been my sister or my cousin or an ex-boyfriend or whatever the case was. Our souls would have connected in one way or another.
Yeah.
The lesson wasn't learned. Now you have the same game, but you have different players.
Right.
You have the same players.
No, same players, but different positions.
Right. Yeah. And also sort of same game, I guess.
Yeah,
which is an interesting thought because I do meet people where I'm like, I feel like I've known you forever.
Yeah.
My daughter's like that.
Yeah.
My daughter I feel like sometimes my daughter might be like a reincarnation of my grandmother. Only because there are certain things that she does that me and my grandmother did that I've never done with anybody else.
Wow.
And I'm like,
that's cool.
How do you know that? Also, she has an unbridled rage that my grandmother also had. And I feel like if I would give her a wooden spoon, I'd get my ass beat. But
she'd know exactly what to do with it.
Give her the wooden spoon. She just whack. I've been waiting 30 years for this shit. You know, it's funny. I'm scared of mediums.
I am too.
I've always wanted to talk to a medium, but at the same time, also no. I don't ever want to disturb. Like, if I was sitting in a restaurant and a medium came up to me and was like, "Hey, this person really wants to talk to you,"
yes,
then yes,
that would be But I don't know about seeking it out. That would. It just feels like you're, I don't know, getting into something you maybe shouldn't be getting into.
Yeah. Well, and I also don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to disturb. You're in an eternal slumber, man. Like, I don't want to bother you.
You're having a good time. Like,
could you imagine? Especially like any parental figure that I have, they're like, God, she's still talking. Oh my God.
Can't even die in peace.
I could just hear my grandpa telling a medium, would you shut up already? Jesus Christ.
Medium's like, I have something to tell you. I don't really know what he's trying to say.
He's trying to tell me to be quiet.
It's coming across a little aggressive, but
no, but I always wonder, like, and especially too, like with my great grandma. So I was raised by my great grandmother until I was 10, and then she passed from old age, and I always wonder, like, what do you see? What do you think of like my life now, and she never got to see my kids, obviously. And she definitely wouldn't approve of my 20s, which she probably got a front row seat to, but
yeah, right. It's even worse this way.
Yeah. But the person you are right now, you look and you're like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Have you ever had any, so they say that dreams, if you have a dream or if you go to sleep and you have a dream where someone who has passed away is in your dream and they don't acknowledge that they're gone and you don't acknowledge that they're gone, it's a dream.
Yep.
But if everybody acknowledges that they're passed, it's a visit.
Yeah.
Have you had any of those?
I have.
Oh, tell me.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's nothing remarkable. It's always
okay.
It's always like one set of my grandparents.
I'll tell you mine.
It's probably be more interesting. Mine, the grandma I was closest with growing up died when I was 12. So kind of the same idea, right? Where you're like, oh, I wonder what she like would have thought of me now having
as an adult.
Yeah, right. Like, and I was her first grandkid, so she was like, and my dad has 2 older brothers, like quite a bit older. His oldest brother is, I want to say, like 10 years, maybe older. He might be almost like 15 years. He's quite a bit older.
Okay.
And then his other brother's like 8 years.
Was your dad in an accident?
Yes, he was.
Perfect.
But to his credit, my grandma would always say they kept trying till they got it right. So we knew who the favorite was.
All right.
But no, so he's quite a bit younger than them. They never had kids. So I was the first grandkid, and like she was like
over the moon,
so happy.
Yeah,
like she loved it. She'd like buy me all these things. Like she's from Germany, so she'd like go back to Germany all the time. She'd like bring me back like dolls and toys and dresses, like everything. But then she died when I was 12. So
and then especially like, because she had 3 sons.
Yes,
and then you're the granddaughter.
So happy to finally have like a little girl to like
buy
stuff for and dote on. She loved it. But so like I'll see her a lot. When like she's usually the person who like in my dreams that's who like shows up and I talk to, and sometimes my grandpa who died her husband, who died 5 years after her. I'll see him too sometimes, which is always funny because I've always had like a little bit of sadness about him because the last time I saw him, I was annoyed with him.
Oh, yeah.
Which like, and you know, he wasn't like, he didn't take things super personal. He was just like he was a really like chill guy.
But how are you supposed to know?
But it was a little thing. Like I was learning to drive at the time. So I was like driving him back to his house and my dad was there. I was like still on my learner's permit. And he like would tell me to stop at every stop sign. I was like, I know, Grandpa.
I can
I'm
read.
stopping. I've stopped at all the other ones. I'm not just gonna blow through this one. But so like we got back to his house and like I didn't really give him a hug goodbye. I was just like, bye. And it was weird actually because the day that was like a Saturday or a Sunday. Like the Monday after, my dad and his brothers were going to lunch with him. And I was like, oh, I really want to go too. Like, because I feel kind of bad that I was a dick the other day. And they were like, no, you can't come. And then he died the next day. And I was like, fucking kidding me. So I've always had like a little bit of like, I don't even want to say regret. Because again, it's
Have
not,
you ever told
like,
him that? Like out loud after he's passed? Like, have you ever
Yeah.
been like, hey? Yeah.
I have. And so I'll see him pretty often in my dreams too. It's like the two of them, but usually separate for whatever reason. They don't usually come together,
Interesting.
which I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know why. But then like my other grandpa who passed recently, I've never seen him.
Okay.
Like, and he passed in 2017?
I always wonder why that is, because a lot of
16?
people will say, like, I just want to see my dad or I want
Yeah.
to see my mom, and these people don't come to visit, but they will
Yeah.
see other people, and I do wonder what that is.
Yeah, right. I don't know what necessarily like, and it makes sense at least for like the grandparents I do see because it's like they were the ones that I was closer with.
Yeah.
Like my other grandpa who died more recently, like we just were never. He was always kind of distant from everyone. Like he was a good guy, but like you know we weren't that close. Either.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
interesting.
kind of odd. But,
I've had a couple of visits. 3 that really stick out in my brain. I was about 16 and my great grandmother, it was the first time I was going through a really hard time, and the twins were just born and we just moved into this house. My whole life was changing. I had to change high schools, and I just remember being like, you know, I need you. Like
Yeah.
in any time, like I need you.
Mhm.
And I had gone, because I could drive at the time, so maybe I was 17 or 18. But I had gone to her gravesite for the first time, and I was just there, and I was crying, and you know, so I go to bed, and I wake up, and she's sitting on my bed, and we're talking, and she's like, you know, I've seen the twins and I see you and
Aw.
everything's going to be okay and I'm here and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, whatever. And we were just, she was just there. I don't remember too much about the conversation, but I just remember her being there.
Yeah.
And when I woke up, I actually woke up. I was sitting up
Oh.
in my bed. The TV was still playing what it was playing in my dream.
Yeah.
And there was like an indentation of where somebody would have been sitting on my bed. So I'm like, was I sleep talking to my fucking like, this is some shit. It was wildly comforting.
Crazy.
But I was like, it was weird because I woke up. Like I
Yeah.
was, you know, like when you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm in my room.
Yeah.
It was the same thing, but I was like up and awake. So there was that. Not too long ago in this house. Oh, I've never told, I might have told you this. I did tell you this. I don't know if I told my grandmother this. I might have told her this. My grandmother lost a son and a daughter. And when I was pregnant with my son, I had a dream that I was at my mom's house and her son, who was 4 or 5 years old, was trying to reach me through, but he couldn't get into the house.
Yeah.
And I was in the house and I'm like, does anybody else see him? Like he's outside, and I knew he was gone. Like I knew he had passed.
Yeah.
And he was trying to knock to like talk to me. And I was scared in the dream.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I don't,
Yeah.
like I'm not letting you in.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's like a barrier there, and I don't know if it's because I've never met him. I don't know. But it was weird because nobody else in the dream even acknowledged that this was happening. So I don't know if in the dream I was the only one who could see him.
Yeah.
But I knew he was gone and he knew he was gone.
Yeah.
But he never told me that. You know how you just know things sometimes?
Yes.
In your dream. So I had that one, which was weird.
That is very weird.
Then I had my uncle. I had my uncle Leo who passed. I don't even know when. And it was funny because he was a funny guy. To me, at least. I thought it was funny. I go to bed, and this is like in this house, in this bed, and he had passed a long time ago. And I'm at a ski resort for some reason.
A normal place you go. Okay,
right.
Yeah,
and, he just walks in, and he's in a ski suit, and he's like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, how are you here? Like acknowledging that he's gone,
Yeah.
And he's like, I just came back to visit. And I'm like, but how are you like here? And he's like, I just wanted to come by and say hi and see how you were doing and check in. And I'm like, why are we at a ski resort?
Of all places,
Right.
This is a weird one.
I've never known Mexicans to be great skiers. But okay. And then we went to go walk out of the lodge that we were in, and then it was over. The dream was over. There was and then the most recent one. My grandpa passed away in June, and the end of June. And I had a dream, and it was just gray. It was just gray.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, I don't know, maybe gray with like some smoke on the floor. And he was there, and he wasn't really in color. He was like, but he wasn't black and white.
Okay.
Maybe like an old photograph.
Yeah, right. Like the kind of.
And he was young. And he was in his army fatigues.
Oh, interesting.
And I could see him, but also I wasn't present in the... Because you know how sometimes when you're in the dream, you're like, oh, I can see my body in this space. I couldn't... I just saw him. And he was just kind of wandering around, but he didn't notice me.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And I'm like, well, what the fuck was that?
That's a weird one. That's very interesting.
Anyways.
Maybe that's your, like... the mid-tier.
Yeah. Maybe he's not ready yet.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't know yet.
I don't know. I kind of like that idea, actually, of, like, there being kind of a mid-tier between, like, a heaven and hell sort of thing.
Why?
I don't know.
Shoot me
I
up.
feel like I deserve heaven. We're getting some insecurities today. I'm not a good enough person.
Shoot me straight up.
Well, yeah, I mean, that'd be nice, but, like, I don't know. I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
I'm not a dick, usually, but...
I wonder what heaven looks like, right? Because I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think the Bible says that we're all equal. We all look the same, right? Like, and you got to imagine, right? We're just a stream of consciousness that happens to be in a body. So maybe it's just like a bunch of little white alien bodies, like glowing bodies walking around with no facial features. I just assume, I don't know.
That sounds horrifying.
Yeah, like you just like a bunch of little like
It's like little like wisps of smoke or something.
Oh yeah, maybe a wisp.
Like,
maybe you're a wisp. I don't know.
sounds less horrifying than just like faceless alien looking sort of fucking.
We're just all beings. Like I just think of like when I think of like an ethereal celestial being.
Okay, fair. I'm imagining like a little gray alien. I get what you're getting at.
Those
with, like,
are
a little,
creepy.
like,
But like it's just a celestial like white light.
Little like kind of glowing sort
yeah,
okay.
of some sort.
Less horrifying.
And we all there's no differences, right? We're all equal. We're all the same. But I often think I'm like, what do you do? Because I'm just always like tinkering.
I'm bored now, and I've got a lot to do.
Although I have to assume that my brain won't be as busy.
You gotta think, right? Like,
yeah, but yeah, hopefully my brain's more empty.
My brain's gonna have to be more empty, otherwise this ain't gonna work.
Yeah,
this cannot make it up there. Can hardly make it down here.
Leave that here. Leave that here. With that being said, I think we're gonna cut it because I did not realize.
Probably,
yeah, I did not realize
this is gonna have to get cut down.
12:43. So thank you.
You're welcome.
For hanging out with me and talking about
Love it.
everything and nothing all. That's what the podcast should have been named. Is everything and nothing all at once.
I'm gonna immediately go home and cry now.
Why?
As scheduled.
Oh, the schedule cry. Right.
Scheduled cry.
The 1 p.m. cry.
No, nothing to do with this. This will come up, but
no, I appreciate you. This was fun.
This was fun.
It it's interesting when you get people who have just differing views and different thoughts.
Yep.
So very exciting.
Very different people. It's fun.
Yeah, so if you want, you guys can find Lydia at Spooky Eris on TikTok and Twitter. I'll make sure to put it in the description boxes down below. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was fun.
Yeah, and thank you guys for joining us today for episode 2. Just remember, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And they will be up every Thursday. And I'm BaconBearzz, and that's my opinion.